welcome to the Rob and Maria show. I'm Maria, and that's not Rob, but Joanne's gonna fill in for Rob today, and we have a really good program today, which I'm excited about. Joanne, did you want to introduce him?
Yes, we're very happy to have with us today an expert in his field. This is Mr. Dan Lowenheim, and he is the Assistant Emergency Management Coordinator for Erie County Department of Public Safety. And the reason why we asked Dan to be here, as we have covered in the past, one of the importance of living in the community by yourself and being independent as possible, we want to make sure that you have the information and tools available to you in the event of an emergency. You have the necessary things that you should have in place. Dan is an expert, so we decided to have him come aboard and give us his opinions of things that need to happen, and he's going to save a lot of things for next time, but we were just having a good conversation about the importance of emergency preparedness. And Dan, I want to thank you for being here today and taking the time to work with CRI. What is your title? What does that involve, and how did you get started in that profession?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Maria and
You're
Joanne.
welcome.
It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm glad to be talking about emergency preparedness. It's one of the very important things that we try to promote and talk about with not only members of the public, but different facility staff and things like that. So as you had mentioned, I am the Assistant Emergency Management Coordinator for Erie County Department of Public Safety. And I started with the Erie County Department of Public Safety back in 2018, came on board as the Emergency Management Specialist. And in July of 2023, I went through a promotion to the Assistant Emergency Management Coordinator. And so I've been in that role a year now. I have a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security and Emergency Management. I'm also designated as a certified emergency manager, and I have some state certifications in emergency management as well. My background prior to coming on board in emergency management in Erie County is as a former paramedic. I worked as a paramedic for many years, and I also have some experience serving on a federal disaster response team and was able to go through some responses of federally declared disasters. And so our emergency management division within Erie County Department of Public Safety is a 4-person division. We have the emergency management coordinator. We have myself as the assistant emergency management coordinator. And then we have an emergency management planner. And we have an emergency management logistics officer. And the 4 of us as a team work with all of the different aspects of emergency management to help serve the public and different facilities and different emergencies and disasters that may take place throughout Erie County on a day-to-day basis. So you would ask a little bit about my roles. So I have really 2 sets of roles and responsibilities. I have during day-to-day operations, I have a set of responsibilities that's related to project and program management, and that involves updating internal plans, and doing external plan reviews with facilities that may look for suggestions or considerations for how to update their plans. I also coordinate with healthcare facilities, schools, and one of the things that I really enjoy doing is that I get to participate in community outreach events and talk to members of the public and different folks about how to be prepared ahead of emergencies and disaster events. So the second set of responsibilities I have are during emergency operations. So during those times when there are emergencies and disasters. So during those times, I serve as a incident command section chief in the Erie County Emergency Operations Center. And I have a few different roles in that. So one of the roles in that would be looking at situational awareness of what's actually taking place, looking at the impacts of an emergency or a disaster, what are the actions that need to be taken to try to mitigate some of those actions, some of those impacts, and then also what are some of the constraints or limiting factors that are barriers to returning everything and returning services to a pre-disaster state.
Right.
So then, sort of along with that, I have some responsibilities with operations as well during emergency operations times. And that includes assisting with developing incident support plans and identifying different priorities, goals, and objectives so that we can assist the local communities in emergency management and assist the communities with the impacts of disasters that they're facing.
That's great. That's great. So you could do storms, emergency preparedness for, disaster, natural disasters, a police emergency. Are you involved in that kind of thing if it was a bigger event, let's say an evacuation of some sort?
So we work with all of the local, county, state, and federal partners.
Okay.
And so we are in consistent communication with emergency services, whether that's EMS, fire, police, and oftentimes we work with the local emergency managers. So each jurisdiction in each local jurisdiction within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is required to have a local emergency management program. And that involves having a local emergency manager. And we often talk with them and communicate with them and collaborate with them and coordinate services in times of disasters and things like that.
Well, that's great. That's great. Maria, did you want to ask?
Yeah, actually, what do you guys do in situations for, like, I guess, different types of disabilities? Do you have like a procedure of how to handle a certain situation, or do you do trainings, stuff
Yes,
like that?
yeah, that's a great question. So with regards to training and some of the things that we do and the plans that we put together for working with members of the public with whatever situation is going on, is we try to look at a whole community approach. And we try to message that individual and family preparedness is a key component of lessening the impacts of disasters. And so we train from that whole community approach to look at different plans, different procedures that are in place, and different processes that can be in place for when the public experiences impacts of disasters and different types of emergencies. So we do quite a bit of training, actually, on a regular basis to look at the different types of impacts that are going on throughout the community and community-wide.
That's great.
That sounds good.
And you were kind enough before we started the podcast, Dan brought in several pamphlets, which I was kind of surprised that one of them was available in Braille. So we're going to put the link to that website so that everyone has some of the materials that he shared with us that are available to start preparing ahead of time. Because one of the things that we said is the key to successful preparedness is time and doing it ahead of time, getting together supplies, what needs to be individually in your personal emergency preparedness kit. So it gives you some ideas. It actually has a form that you can fill out to say, hey, I didn't think of this, so just so that everyone can prepare their kit, have supplies available, so that it is done ahead of time, because no one wants the emergency to be happening. You're in a fire situation. Where's that, fire extinguisher? Where is the flashlight if the lights go out? You want to have everything together so that somebody can go to that kit and have the supplies that they may need in an emergency, quick situation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and a couple of the links to the websites that you had mentioned, I can elaborate on a little bit. So there are two websites. One is Ready.pa.gov, and the other is Ready.pa.gov.
Okay.
And there are many resources on both of these websites that would provide information on how to put together a plan, how to put together a preparedness kit, information on pet preparedness and having supplies for pets or service animals, as well as information for folks dealing with different types of different emergencies. So these websites break out different information for it, depending on the emergency, whether it's a snowstorm or a flood or things like that. And there are different ways to prepare and different items to put in a preparedness kit
Right.
based on just some of the different types of emergencies. And all of that stuff is listed on these websites.
That's
And
great.
it would be great if you could
Yes.
link
Yes.
that,
We'll
link those
provide
websites.
those
That would be
links,
phenomenal.
and that is a huge amount of resources to have on
Absolutely.
hand. One of the things that we talked about prior to us meeting in person, when I called you and you were so kind to take my call and reach out to you, one of the things that we talked about was, in the event of an emergency, how does emergency personnel know that maybe they're going to respond to a fire, and they go to that house and they find out after the fact that maybe the person is in a wheelchair, uses a wheelchair, and it's going to take longer for them to be able to evacuate this person. So we talked a little bit about what we can do as community members, and as your expert field, we talked a little bit, I know I've seen on the news about a registry, so that people with disabilities can fill out prior to an emergency situation, where there would be a database, and it would say, person doesn't like loud noises, or doesn't hear very well, or is visually impaired, or something to that effect. So that is something that is, I believe, being put in place as we speak. It's still a work in progress.
Yes.
But that is something, did you want to talk a little bit
Absolutely,
more
yeah,
about that?
I can absolutely speak to that.
Yeah.
So currently on the Erie County website, the Erie County government website, which is Erie.pa.gov, there is a emergency needs registry form that folks can go on to the specific area on the website, and they can fill this form out. And when it gets submitted into the Erie County Department of Public Safety, and the information from that form then can be put into the 911 computer system.
Good.
So that if there is an emergency at that specific address, then this information will come up on the dispatcher's screen,
That's wonderful.
so that they can alert the first responders. So it's a pass-through for the dispatchers to be able to provide information to the responding emergency service units that are going to that actual emergency at the time that actual emergency is taking place.
That's huge, because that could make a difference for minutes. And we know in the event of an emergency, minutes, can be life-saving.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's huge, and I'm glad that you have that in place, and actually CRI is helping to vet that, information, so that we can get the word out, and make sure that I know our consumers and other places who serve consumers will fill that out and get that in the registry, so that it is there, the information is there.
Yes, that form is being updated so that there will be updated information to be able to fill out and submit into the Erie County Department of Public Safety, so that information can go into the 911 computer system. And so that information, though, will only be available if there's an emergency at that specific address, because then that information comes up on the computer screen.
Right.
But even if somebody has some information that needs to be relayed and has not filled out this form prior to that emergency, they can still provide that information to the call takers, so that the dispatchers can then provide that information
That's good.
to the responding units at the
Yes.
time of the emergency as well. So all of this, we are trying to have that seamless approach of providing information to the responders that they would want to have and need to have for those people having emergencies at the time those folks are having emergencies.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's really something that is going to make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know you are going to come back and see us because this is such a wide variety
So
of
much to talk about.
information and
Yeah.
resources. So, what are some of the things that you're gonna share with us, just as a prequel to,
Sure.
next time?
So absolutely. So the next time that I'm invited back to
Yeah,
join your
yeah.
podcast, I'm going to be talking about how to be prepared,
Mhm.
how to build a plan and have a plan in place for when there are times of disasters and emergencies so that everybody is looking to be prepared ahead of a disaster or an emergency. And that also is going to include understanding some severe weather terminology, how to receive alerts, and also talk about all hazards planning, as well as some of the specific hazards that are more common here in Erie County that we face. And a little bit about how to be involved, how to get more involved with preparedness as well.
Yeah,
So those are the things that I'm looking forward to talking
Okay.
with both of you about
Also,
next
maybe
time and
we
all
can
of your
do,
audience.
we can do like pack a bag together kind of thing, like have all the stuff that
Absolutely.
you put in the bag.
Absolutely, we can certainly,
we can make it more interactive and
Yeah.
show you something tangible
Absolutely,
just to
yeah.
have. Maybe.
yeah, we have a go kit that I can certainly bring in
Yeah,
and
yeah,
show some of the
that's
items
great.
in that.
That's great. That would be great.
excellent.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us today? We've covered a lot, but I
Yeah.
appreciate everything that you're saying is wonderful so that we can provide this kind of information and get this word out, so.
Well, that's great, and I think what I would like to leave everyone with today
Yeah.
is that individual and family preparedness is really a key component to lessening the impacts of disasters that go on.
Definitely.
Being prepared ahead of time will help everybody have a plan and have a plan in place that they're set up for success ahead of emergencies and disasters. We do our part in emergency management to serve the public and serve the community as best we can, but we also ask individuals and families to assist with that by being prepared and to learn more about preparedness.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dan, you are wonderful, and I appreciate all the great information that you supplied us with today. I believe that August 2nd is when we have you scheduled. So August 2nd, Dan will be coming back to give us more specifics and have that kit available to look at. I appreciate your time. I thank you very much, and thank you for your service because it is needed and it is something that our community needs to have. So I appreciate that very much. So we will see you next time, and we thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, you can also put, oops,
I didn't
sorry.
cancel. You're
That's
still
okay.
going, go.
I was just
You're
gonna
still
say,
going.
you can submit any questions that you may have for Dan next time, and we can read those out, if that's okay
Yes.
with you.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Alright.
thank you so much. Have a good day. Well, we didn't tell me you were gonna be a natural there.